Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. This is going to be a Geek-Out review. In other words, this is all the tiny little things that I couldn't really fit into the spoiler-free review or the spoiler review. I'll leave those down in the description below if you want to check that out first. Like I said, this isn't really a critique or anything. This is just me freaking out about all the tiny little things that I really liked in this book. So, let's jump right into it. So the first bit is actually more of just like a funny observation. I listen to these things on audiobook, and so you can listen to how like January Lavoie and Mark Thompson and Jonathan Davis decide to portray and put accents and voices and everything like that to different characters. And I swear, every single alien accent is either Russian or French or some weird mixture of the two. It might just be that I'm uncultured, but Thrawn, at the very beginning of this book, when he can't really speak basic and his basic is super heavily accented, Mark Thompson puts on this, like, French, like this mixture between, like, a French accent and, like, an Eastern European accent, and it's strange, because Hera has the same thing, like, Twi'leks all have a French accent, and, yeah, like I said, just a stupid little funny observation that I'm pretty sure every single alien accent is just a mixture between French and Eastern European. I really liked that Eli has heard of the Chiss ascendancy, with him living on wild space, which is borders their territory in the unknown regions. It makes sense for a wild space, or wild spacer. Yeah, I guess that's probably the right term. Would know about the Chiss ascendancy, but mostly through legends or tales that are really super overblown and over-exaggerated, but it makes the world feel more believable. Because if I recall correctly, I might be wrong on this, because it's been a long time since I've read the Legends stuff, but if I recall correctly, Legends, Chiss, like, nobody had heard of them at all. And that just, it doesn't quite make sense. And them living as a legend on these, backwater worlds in wild space makes a lot more sense to me. So this next one I did kind of touch on in the previous reviews, but I noticed how Thrawn was, narrating certain third-party stuff. It's played off like he's analyzing somebody, but it's also there to teach the reader exactly what is happening in the room. This person walks behind that thing, and then they do this sort of facial expression and this, that, and the other thing, which was a really good storytelling device, but it really reminded me of the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where he's talking about, he's talking to himself in his head about, how he can do this, that, and the other thing, and, strike here and do that because this guy is holding his ear, so, whatever. And I really like that. I really like the reintroduction of beck and call devices. I think that the beck and call devices were actually brought into Legends by the Hand of Thrawn duology, which, those of you that have been following me, you know my opinion on those books. But I really like new, fancy little doohickeys that exist. I like additions into the canon. So having beck and call devices being recanonized made me really excited. Next one is, I really liked how Thrawn kind of had these college years. Thrawn would go through and, he'll, collect, little things from junkyards and stuff and then, hide them away on the cargo, or in the cargo bay of, whatever ship he's serving on. And you would have his captain go, "Thrawn!" And he'd go, "Oh, I believe the captain has found my B-1 battle droid experiment," or something like that. And it reminded me so much of Animal House and all those college films that where it's just these pranksters just messing around and tinkering with things, and then the dean of the colleges starts screaming at them for not being conformists or whatever. And I really like seeing Thrawn, the college years. There was a really cool connection in this, which tied into the Tarkin novel. Tarkin did some pretty brutal stuff in his novel with some pirates that were messing around with his homeworld of Iadu. Not Edu from Rogue One, but Iadu, Tarkin's homeworld, where he basically stuffed this pirate queen and most of her crew and gang into a cargo container and then sent it into a sun and made sure that he was broadcasting audio and visual feeds of them slowly roasting to death over the course of a few days, which wasn't pleasant, but some of the pirates that Thrawn deals with are the remnants of her gang. And again, it's more connective tissue, and I love connective tissue, you guys know that. This next one's a little bit silly, but it really made me identify with the character of Thrawn a little bit more, where you see Thrawn doing super basic things, like unstrapping himself from a crash couch, or getting dressed after taking a shower, or this, that, and the other thing. And I really enjoyed that because you didn't really get much of that, either in Rebels or in Legends continuity. You know, in Rebels, you see him, training, but that was more to set up the fact that he knows how to do hand-to-hand combat. So it makes a little bit of sense to show that, and it was more of a necessity to show that. Whereas this is just, it makes him more real. He's not just the big brooding commander sitting back in his chair in his office going, no, the rebels are dead because of this, that, and the other thing. It makes it more believable. Now, this is just probably the coolest thing I've ever seen Thrawn do, either in Legends or in canon. Like I said, the stuff that he did in Legends was crazy, but it was so crazy that it was a little bit unrealistic for me. Whereas in this, his super brilliant strategy to deal with this super fortified island was to basically just shoot the water around the island and then let tsunamis deal with it. Yes, that's awesome. I need to see that in film or animation or something. I need to be able to see that kind of thing. Now, this next one isn't really Star Wars related, and I can't tell you where it comes from. I don't know whether it was a character name or a place name. I just literally have the word Tanagra written down on my notes here. And big Star Trek The Next Generations fans would hopefully remember a season 3 episode where Captain Picard is sent off to, or he's really abducted by an alien species that speaks through metaphors, and nobody really gets that. So this is kind of that species' last-ditch effort to be able to make contact with other alien races, in this case, the Federation. And there's there's two big lines that, Picard and this guy keep saying back and forth to each other, and Picard just isn't getting it, and the guy keeps repeating it, and Picard gets more and more frustrated, and so on and so forth. But anyways, that phrase is Darmok Angelad at Tanagra. I don't know if Zahn put that in there for a reason. He might have just accidentally made up the same funny name. But I still really like seeing that, and now I can't get that episode out of my head, that episode of Star Trek The Next Generation out of my head. And then the next one is definitely more connective tissue. We get this kind of admission from Thrawn that he wasn't actually exiled. He was just sent away, essentially, in order to do more scouting and this, that, and the other thing for the Ascendancy to assess what the New Republic was and what the Empire was. And we get to find out that the Chiss Ascendancy was actually requested and petitioned by the Nemoidians, i.e. some of the big leadership in the Separatist movement during the Clone Wars era, for help. And the Ascendancy was kind of like, yeah, we're not getting involved in any of that. And again, does that really have any sort of effect on the Clone Wars era or the Clone Wars cartoon or any of the prequels or even any of the original trilogy? Not really. But it definitely makes the galaxy more real. It makes it feel like an actual, political sphere of different factions always discussing things and everything like that. Now, this next one is kind of a jump off from the last one. The Ascendancy, the Chiss Ascendancy, didn't really want to get involved with the Rebellion or the Empire or the Republic or the Separatists because they had their own problems to deal with. It's very briefly mentioned. It's just, I believe the exact line was, the Ascendancy knew of worse evils than the Empire. And that's kind of the explanation for why Thrawn is doing what he's doing with the Empire. He is looking for allies against this worse evil. What is this worse evil? Incoming Snoke theory. Next one is going to be my love for another callback. If I recall correctly, I believe it's from the last battle in the first Thrawn novel from the Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, where Thrawn kind of packs a bunch of TIE fighters into these ships and then they break away and they ambush a bunch of New Republic forces. In this book, we get to see Thrawn do the same thing to Night Swan's forces. Again, it's silly, but it's really nice to see Zahn doing a few little callbacks and kind of like, oh, that might have been where the legend of the Thrawn trilogy came from, or at least the legend of that battle from the Thrawn trilogy. Okay, so my final one for you guys today, my final fun bit about Thrawn was definitely, I want to talk about those last two scenes again, because they're amazing scenes. I like how Thrawn is intelligent in a military manner. Surprise, surprise. But it's nice to see Thrawn basically tell the Emperor that he's being dumb with the idea of Death Stars and this, that, and the other thing, because it doesn't make military sense. You can have a flexible big navy that can take care of multiple different systems at once, or you can have a Death Star that has to go over here, aim, shoot. Oh, now there's a problem over here. Aim, shoot. And it, like I said, I think that seeing Thrawn talk back to the Emperor was really, really awesome. Especially when Thrawn inquired about the Death Star. I can just imagine Ian McDiarmid playing the Emperor going, "Yes, congratulations on your success. How did you hear about this Death Star?" And it made me giggle when I first listened to it and when I first read it. And then for those of you who haven't watched the spoiler review that I did for this book, I just want to recap that last scene or epilogue of Eli going and talking to the Chiss Ascendancy. I am convinced that Eli Vanto is going to be played by Benicio del Toro in episode 8. And he will maybe even ally himself with the New Republic or the Resistance. I could easily see the Chiss, at least from the Thrawn novel, depends on whether or not they've changed since, pre A New Hope. A lot of things can change in 35 years. But I could really see the Chiss Ascendancy actually being the ones to bolster the New Republic forces, or the remnants of the New Republic / the Resistance. And I'm really hoping to see that kind of thing. I would love to see, someone who has an accent that, to us at least, sounds like a Southern American accent. What I mean by that is the deep south of the United States. That country Southern drawl. But that character with that kind of accent would be doing crazy, ridiculous things because he was trained by Thrawn. Which, again, it makes me happy. I like seeing these molds being broken and these stereotypes being ripped down, and I love seeing all this inventive new storytelling that we're getting out of Lucasfilm in the books and the cartoons and the movies, everything. And it just makes me so happy to be a Star Wars fan. So I think that that's about all of the things that are in my head about Thrawn. I think I've finally exhausted all of my thoughts on this. So let me know what you guys thought down in the comments down below. I would love to know your guys' opinions. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want more content like this one. I look forward to doing a headcanon review for you guys this upcoming weekend. I speak English goodly. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Thank you as always, and may the Force be with you.